So we are going to talk about solving linear inequalities using multiplication and division. So I would like you to complete this table and just an investigation. Compute the left-hand side and right-hand side and insert the proper inequality sign. Now, each column is based on 8 is greater than 4, and this side is an investigation of what happens in multiplication. This side is what happens in division. So if 24 is greater than 12, which is true, what happens as we multiply or divide by a whole bunch of things? All right, here's the big idea. So when we multiply or divide by a positive number, the inequality remains. So if it was greater than, it remains greater than. If it was less than, it stays less than. So now, the second big idea, I'm hoping that you've done that. When we multiply or divide by a negative, the inequality switches direction. So I'm just going to solve some inequalities here for you, and let's see. So if I have negative 3t is less than 27, probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to isolate t. The easiest way to do it is I would divide both sides by negative 3. And as soon as you do that, your sign must change. Notice how I divided both sides by negative 3. The sign didn't change the same, but the inequality, the direction of the inequality, does change. So if I solve this now, t is greater than negative 9. There's my solution to this. So I'm going to graph the solution. I'm just going to put negative 9 somewhere there and say, oh, what's to the left? Well, it's negative 10, negative 11. To the right is negative 8, negative 7, negative 6. And by the way, this is my t-axis. Now notice how my inequality was strictly greater than. So I have to leave a hole as being hollow because I have to exclude negative 9, and greater than means I go to the right. So those are the whole number set. Put an arrow. What I've just drawn is the whole number set that is greater than negative 9. All right, let's do this next one. 9x is greater than or equal to 72. So I'm going to divide both sides by 9. How does this change my inequality? Well, it doesn't, because I divided both sides by positive 9. It's a positive integer, so the inequality signs remain the same. By the way, that was 9, so I'm left with x is greater than or equal to 8. 72 divided by 9 is 8. So I'm going to put 8 in there, and then 7, 6, include some numbers to the left and to the right. And this time, I notice that 8 is included, so now it has to be a solid dot. And I'm going to highlight my solution. There we have it. That is what is meant by making a graph of the solution. Now, contrast this with before, as a graph was two-dimensional, had an x and a y. This one really is only one-dimensional. Next one. X divided by negative 3 is greater than 2. So really, I would like to isolate x, but unfortunately, it's being divided by negative 3. So I'm going to multiply both sides by negative 3. And on the left-hand side, I get negative, the factors of negative 3 cancel out, so I'm left with x is, notice I made a mistake now. There's x, and on this side, negative 6. But since I divided by a negative number, the sign of my inequality must have changed. So I'm going to graph my solution. Here we are. X is strictly less than negative 6, so there's negative 6. Does not include. Make sure that I'm trying to communicate that it's not including negative 6. That's why it has a hole. And I highlight everything less than. All right, next one. X divided by 45 is less than or equal to 3. We're going to solve this again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 45. So if I multiply the left-hand side by 45, all that's left is x. If I multiply the right-hand side by 45, it's 3 times 45. Notice here how my inequality sign stayed the same direction, because I'm multiplying or dividing by a positive integer. So positive integers don't change their direction. So what I get is x is less than or equal to, I believe that's 135. What I may want to do now, since 135 is such a large number, I may just want to include count up by 5s. It'll get the point across and communicate the idea that I'm trying to. So 135 is included in my solution, so I have to ensure that dot is solid. I'm going to highlight the direction of my solution. Make sure that arrow's well understood. Maybe not. I'll just fill it in just a little bit more.